The heavy fighting, the more dangerous and the more challenging fighting is underground. It's in the tunnels, and that's where Israel is now trying to figure out how to navigate this fighting, how to actually get to the bottom of it, because the tunnel network is vast and it's across all of the Gaza Strip, not just the northern part.
What's the latest on the ground? What does it mean if troops actually enter Gaza City today?
Well, it means that the fighting between Hamas and Israeli soldiers only intensify. The deeper they get into these cities, especially Gaza City, which is normally densely populated, now less so. But the more they get into these cities, the more the fighting is intensifying. And Israel is now going basically from house to house, from building to building, trying to find Hamas and to kill them. And they have killed dozens of senior commanders already. Those who were also directly involved in the October 7 massacre. But the heavy fighting, the more dangerous and the more challenging fighting is underground. It's in the tunnels, and that's where Israel is now trying to figure out how to navigate this fighting, how to actually get to the bottom of it, because the tunnel network is vast and it's across all of the Gaza Strip, not just the northern part.
Well, that was my next question to you, actually, because obviously the vast majority of the fighting and indeed the bombing has been in the north of the Gaza Strip, which is a tiny area anyway, and the population were encouraged, warned to head south. What happens when the north is finally truly decimated and Hamas rooted out? I mean, is it not the case that Hamas can also be in the south?
Absolutely, and they are in the south.
So what
That's also why
happens?
Israel has bombarded in the south, especially in Khan Yunis, which is also an area where Hamas has plenty of commanders and they have infrastructure. So the northern part is really just to try and have a starting point and to make sure that the civilians can go to a different area. Now, once they're done with the northern part, they'll have to have all of these civilians go north. And that's going to take a long, long time. It's taken a month now just to get people south. And not all of them are even in the south. There's still hundreds of thousands of people in the north.
But also, will there be anything left in the north for them to go to?
That's a different question. The best solution would be if Egypt opened its borders, because we know that countries from all across the world are ready to help the Gazans. Humanitarian aid is not what's missing here. It's a place for them to be, to seek shelter. Now, France is saying that they are close to being in agreement with Egypt to set up a field hospital in the Sinai Desert. And many more countries would do that. Obviously, those who are against it are talking about forcible transfer because they believe that they would never be allowed to come back to Gaza. But if they want to save as many lives as possible, that is the best solution. The solution is not to continue to move around inside Gaza, which is heavily destroyed. It's in ruins, many of the
Indeed.
areas.
But as you mentioned, these are stateless people. Last time they left in large numbers, they weren't allowed back. So there is reticence, isn't there, with all of Israel's neighbours about taking them because they feel that they're contributing to this idea of there never being a two-state solution. I just wondered finally, Jotam, at the moment, there really is a chorus, an international chorus of voices asking for a ceasefire that includes the Pope Francis, the UN agencies in a rare joint statement have repeated calls for a ceasefire, Andrew Blinken on his visit. Is there any appetite? I mean, you mentioned Hamas fighters are being killed, and that's absolutely the case, but 10,000 people have died, and many of them will be civilians. Is there any appetite in Israel for a ceasefire or for some peaceful route out of what's turning into a particularly bloody war?
There's one solution for Israelis. That is, Hamas either surrenders. No, it's actually just one solution. Hamas surrenders and the hostages will be transferred from Gaza into Israel. And if Hamas surrenders and goes into Israel and goes into jail, then that's a solution. But those who are proposing a ceasefire, what they're met with by the Israelis is ceasefire and then what? What is the alternative? Because Israel will not allow Hamas to exist after the October 7 massacre. And the reason being is that Hamas said, we will do this over and over and over. October 7th is just a taste of what's to come if we have anything to say. So the ceasefire has to be surrender and release the hostages. That's the only realistic solution for Israel right now.